Eyewitness News on WPRI 12 continues.
Fighting violence with what some would consider its opposite. A local professor takes a unique approach, whether she's in court or inside the ACI. New at 6, Eyewitness News reporter Walt Buteau has tonight's street story.
It is a sharp contrast. Violence.
Everybody wants to live.
Versus art.
Everybody wants to give.
All of us have a choice. All day long in almost everything we do.
Johnson & Wales Associate Professor Mary Dye's choice is using all forms of art to help victims and the convicted. She's a CASA court-appointed advisor for some of the youngest children in family court.
Yeah, I'm going to give you my card.
The street workers were the subject of one of her student-produced documentaries.
We are renowned to do our country law.
Theater, used as a tool of an inner-city program for children, and a creative aging program for the elderly. And at the ACI, she runs Changing Lives Through Literature.
I always tell my students that they are human beings, they're not their crimes.
There was no greater test than a chance collision between two of those worlds. At a Take Back the Night march against domestic violence, she found herself walking beside a man holding the effigy of his murdered daughter.
And when I looked at
the killer's name was a shock.
I'm going to get chills again.
You knew the guy.
I knew him. He was in my class. Here is a man who's crying for the loss of his daughter from a killing that had no reason behind it. But the killer was in my class, and I had bonded with him and spoken to him and talked about stories and insights, and I was so torn.
Torn but faithful to a philosophy and the words on her wrist.
It's Gandhi's phrase that says, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." If you're going to try to ameliorate violence, you have to work not only with the victims and children, but you have to work with the perpetrators.
Many of her Johnson & Wales students end up shadowing her goals, even after they get their grades.
And they'll call and say, "What are you involved in now? Can we do something?"
With work that sometimes takes up entire days and adds up to 80-plus-hour work weeks, she says her greatest skill might be the art of time management. On Way Bossett in Providence, Walt Buteau, Eyewitness News.